Today we're going to be breaking down UFC Austin, so that fight night between Arman Tsarukyan and Beneil Dariush. Without further ado, let's take it to UFC Austin. Listen, guys, are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? This fight night's literally a pay-per-view. Say it with me. This fight night it could be a pay-per-view if there was maybe a title fight attached to it. It's unbelievably stacked. We've got, former champs in Davison Figueiredo. I mean, Beneil Dariush, #1 contender. Fight last time out, Bobby Green, who's had an excellent year, Rob Font, Kelvin Gastelum, Sean Brady. I really love what they've done with this fight night. Let's start off at the top. Beneil Dariush versus Arman Tsarukyan. Dariush is 22-5-1 overall. Tsarukyan 23 overall. So here's the thing. Here's the rub, guys. Dariush is 34. He's coming off of a really tough first-round knockout loss to Charles Oliveira. But I feel like he's already passed the test of Arman Tsarukyan when he fought Mateusz Gamrot. Think back to that Gamrot fight. Do you remember what happened? Oh, you don't? Let me tell you. Dariush defended practically every single takedown, knocked Gamrot down, controlled every moment, in my opinion, many moments of the fight, even though he was on the back foot. That's going to be a lot of what we're going to see Saturday night. Tsarukyan's going to push forward. There's going to be a big grappling threat. But I just don't, I don't think that Arman's grappling is going to be leaps and bounds better than Gamrot's. I mean, think about Gamrot and Arman. They went back and forth, tit for tat. It was a quite even fight. A lot of people thought it was a bit controversial robbery. They thought Arman should have won that one. Yeah, either way, Dariush is just a veteran. Let's not let this first round TKO loss overshadow the fact that the dude was on a 9-fight win streak. He's gotten some incredible finishes. Drakkar Klose, Scott Holtzman, right, the spinning back fist. And I think he's just really well-rounded. The only thing for me is maybe the speed and the age. 34 is not young. Guys, 34 is not young, and especially when Arman's 27, that's going to be a 7-year age differential, which, when we look at the statistics, it oftentimes is going to lean towards the youngster, right? So I think when we stack them up athletic and maybe, or physically, yes, this should be Arman Tsarukyan all day long. I just don't, I don't really love Tsarukyan's last fight against Joaquim Silva. Granted, he did finish him in that 3rd round, but Joaquim rocked him. I mean, let's not pretend like we didn't see that. Joaquim, I don't know how to say his name. I'm going to call him Silva. Guys, we're going to stick with Silva. Silva cracked him. Silva had him on skates for a moment there. So if you're getting, your shit rocked by a 12-4 debutant, imagine what really highly touted Beneil Dariush is going to be able to do to you. So I've got a bad trend of picking against Arman Tsarukyan. I'll say this, I've picked against him once before, and it crushed a 9-leg, $1,000 parlay. I put up $5. I was going to get 1,000. The only thing that happened was Arman Tsarukyan beat the fuck out of Yoel Alvarez, and I had picked, you can guess, Yoel Alvarez, like a true genius. And Arman Tsarukyan that day was my most hated man on the planet. But since then, I mean, I've been, pretty on board with Tsarukyan. Again, the Gamrot fight was very close. A lot of people felt it should have gone his way. He gets the win over Damir Ismagulov, which is pretty impressive. Ismagulov is he's a good litmus test at 155. And then the finish over Joaquim Silva this year. So second start of 2023. And again, I don't want to pick against this guy, but I also don't want to pick against Beneil. And I think Beneil's seen what Arman's going to bring. So in that main event, guys, I got to go with Dariush. I got to go with the Silver Fox. I know it's somewhat unpopular. He's a +200 something underdog, but let's not get it twisted. The only guy that's beaten Dariush is Charles Oliveira. And guess what? Charles Oliveira beats a ton of lightweights. And I just don't rate it. I think Dariush bats him away. This co-main event, short notice, very short notice. Jalen the Tarantula Turner takes on Bobby Green. Jalen Turner, 13-7 overall. I mean, kind of getting a bit hairy there with the record, my friend. Bobby Green, 31-14-1 overall with 1 no contest. You know, I think that the hype on Bobby Green is through the roof. That finish over Grant Dawson elevated him beyond belief. I mean, he was like a plus 400 underdog, and quite literally the first punch he threw just separated Grant from existence. I was stunned. I mean, I was stunned. You know, coming into that, you thought Dawson was going to just ragdoll him to death and do what maybe Islam Makhachev had done to Bobby Green last year. We were wrong. Boy, were we wrong. And now we got a real fun striking affair. You know, Turner's a guy that likes to stand and bang, and I know Bobby Green's going to give that to him and more. I think there's a couple things we have to look at. So Jalen Turner is 28. He's a young buck. He's a kid. This guy's a kid. He's a fresh guy. And Bobby Green's 37. So we're talking about a 9-year age gap. And Turner is, again, just an unreal frame at 155. This guy's 6'2", fighting at 155. That's stupid. I mean, that's like, what are you doing? You could be a light heavyweight. You know what I mean? At 6'2". And Bobby Green's going to be facing a 6-inch height disadvantage, a 6-inch reach disadvantage. But I'm not sure Jalen's ever really been one to take advantage of all the physical gifts that he has. I mean, what fight can we think of that isn't against a Polynesian or a city kickboxer fighter that Jalen's really leveraged the weapons that he's got? You know, Matt Favola decisioned him. I'm trying to think, fuck, what was Jalen Turner's last couple fights look like? So yeah, Dan Hooker beat him. Gamrot got the nod over him, which I think was, I think some people felt that was a little bit controversial as well. 2022, he submits Brad Riddell almost instantly, and then KOs Jamie Malarkey. Before that, yep, subs Uros Medic. So 2023 hasn't been the year of Jalen Turner. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is he's struggled in this calendar year, and I think that that's going to continue. I mean, look at the media day. Look at how he was just beyond drained, how he was uninterested in answering questions. And I'm not saying that Jalen's a guy that loves the mic. I'm not saying that Mr. Tarantula is going to be dropping bars and is pumped to be up there. A lot of fighters aren't. They're cutting weight. It sucks. But this is short notice. He's got a huge frame. Who knows if he's even going to make weight? You know what I mean? He's putting his body through a lot against the guy in Bobby Green who has had this camp, right? And is riding this momentum. So in this co-main event, I got to stick with the king, man. We go royal flush in the co-main. It's King Bobby Green. But let's go further down this card. We've got another fun fight between one pretty bona fide 135er and the debut at bantamweight for the former flyweight kingpin Davison Figueiredo. Figgy coming up a weight class, man. I love it. I think that this is the perfect move for Davison. You know, you could tell that he's more hydrated, he's more filled out, and I think that that's going to really present itself in maybe the cardio, the durability. And I will say, I'm not sure if the power is going to transfer as well. You know, he was killing guys at 125, knocking down Benavidez multiple times, knocking down Moreno several times. I mean, steamrolling Pantoja, Perez. I'm a bit curious about his finishing ability and the upside of inside the distance on Figgy at 135. But if you're gonna fight a guy that maybe isn't as durable as some other people, wouldn't you want Rob Font standing in front of him? I mean, Font really got butchered by Chito Vera. Jose Aldo had him on skates multiple times. You know, I think that Rob Font's the perfect litmus test for Davison. It's going to be a fun boxing affair. And, you know, we got to recognize this. Figgy's 5'4". This guy's tiny. He's a hobbit. He's quite literally in the Lord of the Rings. And he's got a 68-inch reach. That's 3.5 less than Font. And here's the thing about Font that's scary to me and should be scary to any bantamweight is the jab. The jab of Rob Font is truly a piston. It's laser-like. There's no tell on it. I mean, you can't escape it. It finds your chin, and it's just a nuisance. And so for me, I'm thinking, okay, if you're a taller guy, you're a longer guy, and you've got an excellent jab, he can just kind of annoy Figgy all night long. Font's coming off of an unbelievable victory over Adrian Yanez. Yanez had so much hype coming into that fight. A lot of people assumed that he was going to be, you know, making a serious run for the title, and I still think he can. Hey, who else is on the Adrian Yanez train? Me. I'm the conductor. I'm fucking riding that ship, you know. There's no bigger Adrian fan than myself. I want that kid to have nothing but success, right? But Font took him out. Font blasted right through him. So I think that does cause concern for a guy in Deiveson Figueiredo who has been TKO'd, who has been finished. And coming up a weight class, I think we're just going to see, man. We're just going to see. To close out my thoughts on Rob Font and Deiveson Figueiredo, I think Rob Font's going to be able to be a little bit too much. I think Font's going to be a little too much. I think that jab is going to be a problem. And I think the power at 135 is going to lean in his direction. I know that the New England Cartel boys have had some staggered success over the last few years, but I think Rob Font's going to be leading the renaissance, and that starts with putting Deiveson Figueiredo on a stick. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one.